Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Daniel Wargo and this is the second video of a 5-part video series I'm releasing called Anyone Can Learn to Sing. If you missed the first video, that's where I give kind of an overview of the technique that I teach from, who I am, how I look at the voice, all kinds of good stuff. So if you missed that, I would highly recommend you go back and watch it. In this video, I'm gonna actually start to get into these 4 pillars of singing that I teach from. And so this first pillar is the most fundamental of the 4 pillars. It's about breath and support. This is one of the most important components of singing, and I call it the fundamental one because we need breath when we sing. It requires breath. It's so just innately packed into singing that it's just really, really important that we understand how we're supposed to breathe when we sing and really start to master this technique. So I call this pillar of singing breath and support because there really are 2 components to understanding this technique and putting it into practice. When I talk about the breath, I'm really talking about the inhale, and when I talk about support, I'm talking about the exhale. So the inhale is really about how we take our breaths, and the exhale is really about how we use them, how we use that support to get the sound that we want out in front of us. And so those are the 2 sections that I'm going to be breaking this down into. So let's talk about the breath first. In order to understand the best way to breathe when we're singing, it's important to kind of acknowledge how we tend to think about breathing just in our life. When we think about breathing, we think about the breath coming into the lungs, and we imagine the lungs somewhere in our chest here. So when we breathe, we think of taking a nice big breath from our chest and just breathing out. That is right. It's good. It's physiology, baby. But when we sing, we have to think about the breath just a little bit differently. And we need to think about placing the breath lower, not up in this chest area, but really thinking about it being in the belly. And so when I breathe, when I sing, I really think about filling up my belly with air. I really want to think about just letting my gut go, just letting all that extra beer and cookies come out and just really have a big belly. And so let's try something right now. I want you to place a hand on your stomach, and I want you to just try and fill up your belly with air by moving your hand out. So just take a nice deep breath in like this, and just fill up the belly. Let it all out. No one's watching you. You're alone. Okay, so that kind of is the breath part. The support part is really more important because the exhale is where the singing actually takes place. And in order to talk about support, we have to talk about the diaphragm. I briefly discussed the diaphragm in the first episode, but I want to get a little bit more in depth. The diaphragm is a muscle that takes place, it's kind of around your sternum, and it's actually kind of wrapping around your stomach like this. It's quite a large muscle, but the way to really easily and actively find it, if you don't know where it is just to put your hand right here somewhere around your sternum and just cough. Now, don't go coughing all over everybody. Make sure that you're socially distanced and probably alone when you're doing this. But as you cough, you can really feel that diaphragm. That's where that takes place. What you might notice is that the diaphragm actually is below the chest, right? So if I'm taking a breath into my chest, I can't really use the diaphragm for anything. It's kind of useless at that point. I have very little control over how much breath I'm using. Now, to understand why we need to use the diaphragm to control the breath, I like to use the example of a bagpipe. They are very interesting in their design in that there's a bag of air that's generally placed under the person's arm who's playing it. There's a pipe in which the bagpiper is just blowing air into this air bag. They're squeezing their arm over the bag, and the air is coming out of the 3 pipes up on top of the bag. And so that's how it works. It's generally, when I think about the diaphragm and this breathing down low, I think about that same idea of having the support. There's a push and pull that has that allows for me as the singer, as the breather, to control how much breath I'm getting out. Now, if I don't use that, diaphragm, I run the risk of kind of looking like a floppy balloon, like a balloon that somebody just let it go and all the air is flying out like that. So if I'm not using the diaphragm, then I run the risk of losing control of my breath. And the consequences for that are me not having enough air, me not being able to hit high enough notes, me not being able to sing fully. It actually can lead to vocal problems. When you're using the diaphragm, you're actually taking a lot of the stress off of the neck, the throat, this whole area, the jaw, there can be a lot of tension and stress down there. And if you can reimagine where that tension is placed and place it in your diaphragm, you can really use that muscle to control your breath. Okay, so that's the idea theoretically, but I'd love to put it into practice. So I'm gonna give you a few exercises that you can do at home. You can do it standing, sitting, in the car, wherever. There are 3 exercises and they're very, very simple. So the first one is we're always gonna place a hand over our diaphragm, kind of stomach, just so we can feel the breathing and so we know that we're doing it correctly. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill up with air, and then we're just gonna hiss it out to the end of the breath. So what I mean by that is go all the way to the end of the breath till you have no more air. And you should really feel a tightening down here. It should feel almost like you're doing some sit-ups. Hey, you don't even have to go to the gym today, because look at this. You're welcome. Let's all try this together. We're gonna take a breath in, fill up the stomach, and out to the end of the breath. Cool? Let's do it again. Ready? Breath in and out. Yeah, okay, all the way to the end. Great, now I'm not gonna do it with you. I'm just gonna guide you along. So let's try it. Breath in and hiss. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. Oh, you're doing great. Okay. So number 2, we're gonna just change things up a little bit. We're still gonna take a nice deep belly breath in, fill up our hand with air. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna blow the breath out 3 quick times. So that'll look like this. And if you notice, you can see my stomach bouncing every time I blow the air out. That's ultimately what we want. We wanna activate the diaphragm every time. So it's like quick. And so we're gonna just try that. Let's take a deep breath in, and 3 breaths out. Ready? Good job. Let's try it again. Breath in and out. Great. Breath in and out. Awesome. So this final exercise, now we're gonna take what we've done and we're gonna add voice to it. I'm not gonna have you sing, but I am gonna just have you use your voice in this exercise. It's still mostly gonna be concentrated on the diaphragm and the breathing. So we're gonna take a breath in, we're gonna fill up our hand with air, and then what we're gonna do is go, hey, 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 like that. So you still have that idea of the diaphragm tensing and tightening as you are going with the different heys. And on the last one, you're gonna use the diaphragm to help control the breath as long as possible. So let's try that all together, shall we? We're gonna take a breath in, and then we're gonna go, hey, 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 like that, just like that. Again, breath in, hey, 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 just like that. It's pretty easy. Let's do it one more time. Ready? Breath in, hey, hey, hey. Whoa, now your neighbors might hate you. Sorry about that. But now at least you know what the diaphragm is, where the diaphragm is, how you support, what that means, and you have 3 exercises that you can use to practice it. That's your homework. Because the ultimate thing that we want to have happen with this is we want this to become muscle memory. We don't want to have to think about breathing when we're singing. We just want to be able to sing, have fun. So the way that we can do that is just by building good habits. And so if this is not a habit for you, it's really just a matter of bringing awareness to this and practicing it in your day-to-day life. So what I would recommend is doing these 3 exercises. It doesn't take a lot of time. And the other thing is, if you're singing at all this week, even if you're just singing in the car, just having fun, just start to think about it. Don't judge yourself. Don't say, oh, I didn't take a belly breath there, I took a chest breath, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Just start to think about it. And through this process, we'll start to build good habits in the breathing and support department. And that's just gonna make everything easier going forward. All right, so that's the pillar on breath and support. If you have any questions or comments, or you wanna let me know how you did, you can leave a comment below. I will read them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, whatever. Thank you so much for watching, guys. The next video is going to be on the second pillar, which is on placement. And yes, we're actually gonna sing next time, I promise. There will be some singing. Today was just all about breath and support. I had to lay that foundation though. I had to do it. It's something I just have to do. I will see you next time on the next video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. What are you still doing here? You should be practicing.